Hi, Central Washington. Jerrod Sessler here. I've worked, served, and toiled alongside you in the fields, in the shop, on the tractor, behind a table saw, and at the keyboard behind my computer for most of my 55 years right here in Washington. I went away to serve in the military, and I've had the opportunity to travel the globe, seeing some of the wonders of the world. And I can report back that I always came back to Washington because it is where I call home and one of the most beautiful places on earth. I've built businesses and been blessed to raise and homeschool an amazing family right here in State 42. More than a decade ago, I decided that I wanted to run for Congress. There were a number of reasons, but weakness and corruption within our government were at the top of the list, especially after the re-election in 2012 of Obama. I could not be more excited with you and for all of us in America to have a straight-up dream team, starting with President Trump, running the country moving forward. We are about to see the very best in America under their leadership. We are going to test the boundaries of what we thought was possible in America, and it is exciting. It is going to feel so good that I believe we will even convince some of the people that have lost faith in the traditional American way. The other Washington, Washington, D.C., is one of my favorite places to visit, and I've been there dozens of times, been through most of the museums and government buildings as I learned about our country's history and functions. I've had the shrimp cocktail at Old Ebbitt's Grill, and I've rode the tram through the tunnels under the Capitol building. I was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th in support of President Trump, and I saw what actually happened that day. We are going to hear more and more of the real stories of that day in the coming year. Sadly, our Congressman Dan Newhouse chose a few days later to support the impeachment of the best president of our lives. Soon after, calls started coming for me to run for the seat. I wanted to. It was no mystery or surprise. I even told Congressman Newhouse years earlier that I would run for the seat one day. That led me down a path that caused me to learn more about our government system, see corruption and disgusting evil with my own eyes. Through it all, I built an even stronger respect for what God has given us here in America. I would argue that the last few years have been the most grievous time, yet our structure protected us in many ways, and we were able to stand together and unite around a national movement to save our country and our future. Without the amazing American political structure, the renaissance we are now experiencing would never have been possible. Sadly, however, we here in Washington State have a difficult situation on our hands. We find ourselves in one of the most radically progressive states in the country, and in a congressional district with a so-called Republican congressman who lost to me in the primary election, but because of our broken election system, was able to face off again in the general election, where he spent over $3 million lying and defaming me. I want to say I'm sorry, not because I did anything wrong, but because there was little that I could do to counter the lies that caused some of you to doubt me. As we look to the future and what we can do from here, I've got a couple of announcements that I want to make. First, I've got a plan to bring integrity to our elections here in Washington, peace to our streets, to protect our kids and our families, get regulations off of our businesses, protect our farmlands, bring sanity back to our use of our abundance of water, make housing affordable again, and to rein in our overtaxation. I'm going ahead with that plan now. It starts with a grassroots movement, so it can only be possible if you engage with me. It is not going to be easy, but I don't see any other way to rescue our state. And I promise that I will be on the front lines protecting you and doing the very hardest of tasks. The second is just as exciting, but altogether separate from rescuing our state. I want you to know that the journey that we have taken together so far has been amazing. I want you to know I am not giving up. One day soon, I believe you will get to successfully elect me as your congressman, and I will accept every day in that role with the highest respect and honor. I love this country. President Trump, the House Freedom Caucus, many members of Congress, all of you who have already voted for me, and many others will continue to endorse my candidacy. I would argue that the support I have is not because I am perfect. It's because I'm sincere, I'm hopeful, inspiring, knowledgeable, prepared, and confident that God will use me to protect us from the tyranny that knocks each day. We've got a lot of work to do here in our state. I'm excited to do the work, and it's just what I believe God has prepared me to do. I want you to know that I love America. I love Washington. I live in the middle of Central Washington farmland, and I would not have it any other way. I want to protect and defend all that it is to be free Americans. I want a limited government, and I want accountability of our elected. I also love each of you, regardless of your age, shape, gender, occupation, family origin, or any other attribute or preference. There's nothing that I enjoy more than getting time with you and hearing your stories. I was in a wonderful little town recently called Mansfield for a breakfast at a wonderful little place called the Golden Grain. I noticed an intriguing hardware store when I arrived in town, and I just had to check it out before I left. After breakfast, I walked into that hardware store and met the owners. The husband was sitting eating a piping hot breakfast right out of the cast iron skillet. His wife just made it at home and drove it over for him to enjoy. I bought a few things that day, and I committed to myself that I would bring my wife back to see the neat little town and to meet more of the gracious folks there. These are my good days. I'm also thankful for the tough days because I know that we need strong leaders to help us by shouldering the corruption and disagreements so that everyone else can carry on with their great American lives. Central Washington is an amazing place with incredible beauty to enjoy and some of the most productive people and companies in the country. On many of my days driving through Central Washington, I see people fishing and golfing. Those two activities in particular are some of my favorites, and I'd be lying if it didn't sting just a little to see you enjoying yourself. But I appreciate that my work is helping to ensure you get to continue doing what you love to do. You will never stop mattering to me. It is you that I fight for. Many of you got one of our campaign collector hats that say something important on the side of them. I hope you keep wearing them and let them remind you and others of what God has called us to. The right side of the hat says pray and act. This statement comes from the book of James. Nowhere in the book does it say those words specifically, but as I look at our lives and as I have read and studied the Bible, I see that the book of James can be summarized into those three simple words: pray and act. I believe that is what God is calling us to do right now. Washington State needs prayer, and we need our people to act. We are on the front end of a movement that I intend to put all of my effort into ensuring that we are not cut off from the complete experience of being fully free Americans. We deserve to have a secure border, an economy that allows us to not be stressed about our monthly budget, freedom to grow, build, and play on our land, both private and public. We must be able to speak our minds even when we are wrong, and we must be allowed to worship however we choose. That is what it means to be American. In the coming years, new threats on a national level are going to expose themselves as President Trump and his amazing team fix or correct a lot of the ones I mentioned. AI, AGI, and ASI are set to disrupt about 70% of our jobs in the next 5 years. Crypto and the threat of a centralized digital currency will go from being a mystery to a reality for everyone. We must protect our rights to a decentralized system. Globalism is strengthening in many parts of the world, and organizations like the WEF, the WHO, and the UN want nothing more than to demonize, dominate, and to weaken the American spirit. Mental illness is clearly showing its face in many ways. We must face the facts for what they are and help those folks in loving ways. I personally am excited to see Bobby Kennedy working for all Americans to get garbage ingredients out of our foods. That, along with securing our border from mind-altering drugs pouring through, will certainly go a long way to help clear the minds of many of our citizens, but we cannot ignore the simple act of praying for people. Read Luke 9 and 10 and let it inspire you, as God has given us incredible authority to help others suffering from physical and mental illness. We need leaders throughout America that can help us navigate these and other challenges that we will face. This is not to diminish the great national team behind President Trump that we get to enjoy now, but we also need to take serious our lack of real leadership here in Washington State. I won't give up on that, and I won't give up on you. I've already ignited a plan to return sanity to our amazing state of Washington. We will enjoy the fruits of great leadership, but it's going to take some dedication and sacrifice from all of us. We are planning a statewide event for the next summer, and I'll be working diligently behind the scenes to make the necessary changes we need to start winning here in Washington again. We'll also be getting some help from our favorite president. that will demand election integrity return to our voting systems. These changes will be a point of inspiration for our state, and the tides will begin to turn in earnest. I'm deeply grateful for your ongoing and continued monthly support. Without it, we would never be able to be ready for the changes that are coming. If you are frustrated with where we are or excited about where we could be, then please join me and many others in supporting my ongoing efforts financially with monthly donations. If you are frustrated that we are saddled with another term with a congressman that does not share our values, then please start a monthly pledge. I'm grateful for all who have shared in this journey. I know that we have many great years ahead of us, and although we will certainly have our bad days, I'm confident that most of them will be great. God bless you, Central Washington. Know that I'm fighting for you every day, and I will never give in. I will never give up. I will continue the journey that we started, and I will do all that I can to protect you, your family, your farm, your business, every opportunity that we deserve, your way of life, and your freedoms. God bless America, and God bless our beautiful state 42.